Hello everyone. Today we will look into simple permanent tissues. Don't you remember we talked about simple permanent tissue with an example? The cross section of a stem. We identified collenchyma, parenchyma and sclerenchyma, right? Then we classified them and then we studied with the help of pictorial representation, right? See, we have collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So these are the pictorial representation. And we know these three are simple permanent tissues. What are the other simple permanent tissues? Today we will focus on the other simple permanent tissue, right? Let's move on. And here we have a picture. And this is a picture of peeled leaf. This is a leaf and this is the peeling of the skin. So the leaf peel will be looking like this transparent portion. Now we have to cut this transparent portion and observe under microscope. After proper staining, the microscopic image will be looking like this. Now, we have to identify each parts. Here we have different linings and we have different pores. See, these are the different pores, right? So we have to identify what are these portions. Now, this portion, let's see what is this. And this particular region is known as epidermis, right? So these linings are epidermis. These linings are epidermis. So don't you remember the epidermis, the outermost layer? In case of root and stem, we talked about epidermis, right? In case of leaf also, epidermis is the outermost layer and it will be looking like this in microscope, right? Now, what about this pore? Let's see what it is. And this pore is known as stoma, right? So stoma is a singular form. Stomata is plural. Now, that is stoma. Now we will go for pictorial representation, and this is a pictorial representation of a leaf and particularly mesophyll, right? And this white portion. This white portion is known as epidermis, the outermost layer. So this is the top layer and this is the bottom layer. So we can see epidermis in both, right? Here and here. And this is epidermis and this is also epidermis, right? Now, the other portion. This particular portion is known as cuticle. We will talk about cuticle later, but remember this is an important part of epidermis, right? Now, this particular hole, the pore, we talked about stomata in this microscopic image, and we will talk about stoma in this image and this pore. See this particular pore. This particular pore is known as stoma. And this particular pore is guarded by two kidney-shaped structures, right? And this is known as guard cell, right? So these are the parts of the pictorial representation of leaf and the microscopic image and the leaf peel, right? Now we will go for statements. The first one. The epidermis is the outermost covering made of single layer of flat cells. See, what is meant by epidermis? We are talking about the simple permanent tissues, right? Epidermis is one such simple permanent tissue, right? So what is meant by epidermis? It is the outermost layer and these are flat, right? These are flat cells and they are of single layer. We can see a single layer here, right? So this is single layer flat cells, which is the outermost covering. So that is epidermis, the simple permanent tissue. Character number 2. They form a continuous layer without intercellular space with outer and side thicker walls. Now, we have these epidermis here and we have epidermis here, right? Can you see any spaces in between? They are packed tightly, right? Yes. So there is no intercellular space. Without intercellular space and with outer and side thicker walls. So the outer, the side and the outer, they are thickened, right? So that is the peculiarity of epidermis. So what is the purpose of epidermis? Protection, right? So it should be thick, right? That's it. Third point. They often secrete a waxy, water-resistant layer on their outer surface, right? Here comes the purpose of cuticle. They secrete a waxy, water-resistant layer on their surface, and that water-resistant layer is known as cuticle, right? So, what is the purpose of cuticle? They are water-repellent. They are waxy, right? So, there is a structure of cuticle found on the epidermis. So, it's a secretion, right? Moving on. The waxy substance aid in protection against loss of water, mechanical injury and invasion by parasitic fungi. Now, cuticle is an outermost covering of epidermis and what is the purpose of cuticle? Protection, right? loss of water, mechanical injury, and inversion of parasitic fungi, right? So the parasitic attack, right? Loss of water. How do they prevent the loss of water? Because they are water repellent, right? So they won't allow water to go out. So they are waxy enough and they are against the parasitic fungi, right? Okay, it will also prevent from mechanical injury, right? That's it. So that was all about epidermis, and we talked about epidermis in microscopic view as well as in the pictorial representation. They are the outermost flat layer, now single layered, and there is no intercellular space in between, say, now, right? So the secretion is known as cuticle. It gives protection, preventing loss of water. It will give mechanical strength, right, and preventing it from mechanical injury, and prevent the parasitic fungi, the inversion of parasitic fungi. So that was all about epidermis. Let's move on. Here we have the picture of the plant, right? The leaf, the plant leaf. Now what was left behind? We talked about cuticle as the epidermis layer. Secretion, right? That's it. So secretion of epidermis is cuticle. So these are epidermis. We talked about epidermis, we didn't talk about stoma and guard cell. So now we will look into stoma and guard cell and what are they. Let's see. These pores are called stomata. So the pores, right? This pore is stoma, and we're talking about the multiple pores, right? So they are known as stomata, the multiple pores. The pores that are found on the leaf are known as stomata. Let's see what it is and what is the purpose of stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells called guard cell, necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere. So, what is the purpose of this guard cell? We talked about stoma here, and now we have to go for guard cell. What is the purpose of guard cell? Necessary for exchanging gases, and they are kidney-shaped, which protects the stoma, right? It protects the pore, and it is necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere, right? So that is the function of the guard cell. Moving on, this one is stoma and guard cell in closer view. Here we have water, right? Here we have water, chloroplast. Here also vacuoles are found, and this is guard cell. This particular is guard cell, and this pore is known as stoma, right? So that was all about stoma and guard cell. Moving on, transpiration. The loss of water in the form of water vapor take place through stomata. So talking about the purpose of stomata or stoma, we will have to talk about transpiration. Here we have a picture for you, and this process is transpiration, what it is. So water is taken in by roots, and they will lose this water through leaves by process called transpiration. So it is the loss of the water in the form of water vapor. Now, why do they lose? Because of the extreme sunlight, right? That's it. So it is the sun that absorbs the water in the form of water vapor. So this loss is known as transpiration, and there are many purposes for transpiration. We will look into those purposes after. So that was all about the stoma, guard cells, and epidermis, and we talked about transpiration, the loss of water in the form of water vapor, right? So these are the purpose of stomata and the definition. Thank you.